You never forget the day something from another world arrives. NASA called it the most secure box in human history. Titanium alloy, triple sealed, robotic arms only, no human hands allowed. Inside, the first sample of real Martian soil, shipped all the way from Jezero crater, locked tight since the day Perseverance drilled it loose. They said the protocols would keep us safe. Every scientist on the project wore 2 layers of gloves, 4 layers of paranoia, and a badge that beeped if you got too close. But nothing prepares you for the sound that box makes when it unseals. A sharp click, a sigh, like a breath from the oldest desert in the universe. I was there when they opened it. My name is Dr. Sam Vickers, Planetary Biology, CDC Liaison. Official job, keep the world safe from anything alive or dead on Mars. Unofficial job, try not to think about how we're playing with fire. The lab was packed with cameras, sensors, the kind of security that makes you feel like a thief in a museum. People watching from behind glass, everyone holding their breath. The robot arm pulled the lid. Nothing happened. No gas, no glow, no spores shooting into the air. Just red dust, clumped, sticky, ancient. We took the first sample, mixed it into a sterile saline solution. Pipetted a single drop onto a plate of ordinary Earth bacteria. That's where it started. Within minutes, the bacteria stopped moving, stopped growing, died fast. I'd never seen anything like it. We ran the test again and again. No matter what we tried, coli, staphylococcus, even the hardiest superbugs, the Martian dust wiped them out. Every last cell. The biolab went from thrilled to nervous. People whispered, "Did we just find the best antibiotic in history?" Others shook their heads, or the worst biohazard. The CDC ordered a red alert. Quarantine. No one leaves. No one touches their face. No phones, no comms, just in case. We set up more plates, brought in new cultures, watched the same thing happen. It wasn't a chemical reaction, it wasn't radiation. The Geiger counters were flat. It was something else. The Martian soil didn't just kill bacteria, it erased them. No residue, no debris, not even fragments under the microscope. It was as if the bacteria had been deleted, like a bad file from a hard drive. The press called, hungry for good news. They wanted Martian miracle cure. We didn't answer. I started to worry, what if it didn't stop at bacteria? What if we'd brought home something that didn't care about the rules of life on Earth? I ran a DNA test on the sample after exposure. Expected broken strands, maybe denatured proteins. Instead, I found nothing. Nothing at all. The bacteria's DNA was gone, dissolved, vanished. That's when I noticed the plates. Where the Martian dust touched the agar, the pattern was changing, tiny shapes branching out. Not mold, not crystal. Something growing. It wasn't alive, not by any definition we had, but it was moving. That night I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every safety lecture I'd ever heard. We'd opened the box, we'd let the dust touch Earth. Now whatever was in that dust, it was starting to wake up. And it wasn't finished. Nobody in the lab slept that night. We doubled the quarantine, sealed every vent, checked every suit. We scrubbed our hands raw, like we could wash away what we'd seen on those plates. But the Martian dust didn't care. It sat there in the petri dishes, almost smug. Red streaks across clear gel, killing everything it touched. No bacteria lasted more than a minute, not even spores. Not even the ones designed to survive boiling acid. By morning, every culture was gone. But something was left behind. At first, we thought it was contamination. Little circles, barely visible, lining up in rows and spirals. I checked the microscopes, cleaned the lenses, ran controls. The pattern was still there. It was geometric, too regular for anything natural, at least on Earth. I called in Dr. Khalid, our mathematician. He stared for a long time, then traced the shapes with a gloved finger on the glass. Fractals, he whispered. Like a code, or a signal. Nobody wanted to say what we were all thinking. This wasn't just a chemical effect. Something in the Martian dust was building. At 2 p.m. we found our first real scare. One of the automated incubators jammed, the robotic arms stuck halfway open. Inside, a streak of Martian soil had spread beyond the dish. It hadn't just killed the microbes, it had eaten the plastic, left a spiderweb of red along the metal floor. We tested everything, air, water, surfaces. Negative for life, negative for toxins. But the pattern kept growing, silent and invisible unless you knew where to look. That night I checked the lab logs. The camera feeds played back on fast forward. What I saw made my blood run cold. The red lines didn't just appear, they crawled. Slow at first, then faster, changing direction as if they were searching for something. One line reached the edge of a stainless steel tray, paused, then split, curling into a perfect spiral. I paused the video, counted the segments, 13, then 21, then 34. Fibonacci numbers. A Martian organism, if you could call it that, was mapping out math on an Earth's surface. Dr. Khalid and I stared at the screen in silence. "This is communication," he said, voice hoarse. I wanted to deny it. I wanted to say it was all random, just a weird chemical interaction. But the patterns were getting more complex. In the next dish, the red dust drew a shape that looked like a double helix. Twisted, but unmistakable. A mockery of DNA. The CDC upped the alert level again. Armed guards outside every door. Nobody in, nobody out. They called in higher-ups, military, NASA brass, even a guy from Homeland Security who wore sunglasses inside. Everyone wanted answers. Nobody had any. Meanwhile, the Martian dust kept working. By day 3, every culture in the lab was gone. Every bacteria, every spore, even the harmless yeast from someone's lunchbox. Gone. But the dust didn't stop there. It started mapping lines across the glass. Tiny bumps appeared, like microscopic towers. I swabbed one and ran it through our sequencing machine. The computer choked, refused to classify it. Not bacteria, not virus, not prion. Something new, something that used what it destroyed. We called it Martian Construct A. But I just called it the thing that learned. That night, alarms blared. One of the researchers collapsed, feverish and shaking. We scanned her, terrified she'd picked up some infection. Nothing in her blood. But under the microscope, the red pattern was back, traced across the skin of her palm where she'd handled a supposedly clean sample. It wasn't just killing Earth's bacteria. It was moving into people. No infection, no illness, just a pattern. Like her skin was being used as a message board. We locked down the ward, kept her isolated, but her temperature never rose again. The fever vanished in an hour, and when she woke up, she said she felt clearer, like something inside her had been switched off. But when she smiled, I saw something strange, a red fleck at the edge of her eye. The Martian dust was evolving. It wasn't just a killer, it was a builder, and now it had found a new home. We should have shut it all down, incinerated the samples, burned the lab, sealed the doors. But it was too late. The red dust had already spread. Not fast, not in clouds, nothing dramatic. It moved slow, clever, almost cautious. The researcher, her name was Leah, came back to work the next day. She said she felt fine. Clear, she kept repeating, like my head finally stopped buzzing. But I noticed small things. She didn't blink as often. She moved differently, more precise. When she picked up a pen, her fingers lingered, tracing little circles on the paper before she wrote. The spot of red at her eye was gone by lunchtime. I asked if she was okay. She just smiled. Never better. By then, the dust had built more structures in the plates. Towers and spirals, lines twisting in and out of one another like a puzzle that was halfway done. Khalid ran his simulations, but the models crashed every time. He joked it was math from another planet. But nobody laughed. Day 4. We lost our first decontamination unit. A cleaning robot jammed, then shorted out. Its internal logs showed it had spent 2 hours parked in front of a sample tray, not moving, just cycling its camera back and forth. When we pulled it apart, we found red dust lining the circuit boards, tiny patterns etched into the copper, almost like writing. I started to realize the dust didn't just kill life. It used anything: cells, plastic, metal, silicon. It didn't care about DNA or carbon or anything Earth biology considered alive. It just wanted structure. It wanted to grow. CDC sent a new order: destroy the samples now. We suited up, triple layers, hoods, oxygen lines. Khalid and I loaded the plates into a burn chamber. As we watched through glass, the temperature climbed. 300, 400, 700 degrees Celsius. Most of the red dust blackened and shriveled, but in the center of the ash something shimmered. A perfect red spiral, unaffected. I felt my heart pound. Khalid started mumbling equations, as if numbers could fight fear. That night, a message came through the lab's comms, a text log from a sensor array that shouldn't have been online. No sender, just 3 words: "Can you see?" We stared at the screen in silence. We hadn't hooked the array to anything since the first day. But the Martian dust was everywhere. Air filters, bench tops, inside sealed containers. It wasn't much, just a smear here, a few grains there, but that was all it needed. Day 5, Leah drew a spiral on the window with her fingertip, fogging the glass with her breath. She watched it fade, then traced it again. She didn't seem to notice we were watching her. Another researcher caught herself writing the same shape in her notebook, over and over without thinking. I checked my hands. No red, but I was starting to see the spiral everywhere, on computer screens, in my dreams, floating behind my eyes when I closed them. The Martian dust didn't stop. It adapted. In the last test, we pipetted a drop onto a culture of human cells. The cells didn't die. They changed. Membranes thickened. Nuclei split, then merged, then split again. Under the microscope, I watched as the cells began to form their own patterns. Tiny spirals. Fractals. It wasn't infection. It wasn't disease. It was evolution, but not the kind that belonged on Earth. We argued in the command room, destroy everything, alert the world, lock ourselves in and wait. Khalid wanted to stay and study, even as the red lines crept along the floor as if inviting him to join the experiment. I just wanted to go home, but there was nowhere safe left. The next morning, Leah was gone, so were the plates. And the log files for the lab cameras had been wiped, reset to 0. All that was left was a red spiral drawn on the inside of the exit door, and a single message on my computer screen, I tease learning. By then, I knew what that meant. It had learned from everything we did, how we tried to kill it, how we failed. It didn't just survive. It grew stronger, smarter, patient. It wasn't bacteria. It wasn't virus. It wasn't alive, not in any way Earth science could name, but it was here. And now it was everywhere we'd touched. And it was waiting for us to see what it would do next. The lab was empty. Just me and the hum of the vents. No voices in the hall, no laughter, not even the click of shoes on linoleum. Khalid was gone. Leah was gone. CDC had sealed the building from the outside, locked every door, disabled every badge. They thought if they starved the thing, they could kill it. But you can't starve something that doesn't need to eat. I sat at my desk, staring at the monitors. All feeds, black. Every camera offline. Except one. In the center of the biolab, a single petri dish, spotlit, somehow, by the pale green of the emergency lights. In the dish, a perfect red spiral. It looked almost beautiful. I wanted to smash the glass, to torch the whole room, but I knew it wouldn't matter. We'd already lost. Somewhere in the air vents, I could see the faintest trace of red dust curling, like it was searching, like it was waiting for the next thing to become. The last file Khalid left me was just a single sentence. Fractals always find new ground. I scrolled through my own notes. Every culture we'd tested, every method we'd tried, all the same story. It killed, it erased, it learned, and then it built something new from the pieces. I remembered Leah's eyes, that clear, switched-off look, the spiral at her fingertip. And I realized something no one wanted to say out loud. This wasn't invasion. It was invitation. The Martian dust didn't want to wipe us out. It wanted to use us, our bodies, our machines, our world. Earth was just a new petri dish. I checked the air monitor. Safe, supposedly. But I knew the truth. If I was breathing, so was it. The CDC's safe room was a joke. There is no such thing as containment when the thing you're fighting learns with every attempt. I tried to send a warning out. Email, satellite uplink, even my personal phone. Nothing went through. The building was dark, humming with generator power. No one left to answer. That night, I fell asleep at my desk, and I dreamed in spirals. Red lines looping and curling, swallowing cities, continents, whole oceans, then folding inward smaller and smaller, until they were threading through my own veins. In the dream, I saw Leah standing in a field of dust, the sky burning pink and gold like a Martian sunset. She smiled and held out her hand. Her palm was red with patterns, moving, reshaping, learning. "Come see," she whispered. I woke to find the lab lights flickering. The spiral in the petri dish had doubled in size. The edges weren't crisp anymore. They were branching, stretching across the glass, reaching for the next thing to touch. I knew then no fire would stop it, no lock could hold it. The Martian dust had found a world to write its patterns on, and it would never stop evolving, not as long as there was anything left to learn from. As the building creaked in the pre-dawn stillness, I took out my recorder and began to speak. Not for CDC, not for NASA, maybe not for anyone at all. Just to mark the last moment when Earth was still ours. Because tomorrow, the patterns would spread. Through vents, through water, through everything we once called safe, and the spiral would keep moving long after we were gone, writing its message on whatever it found next. If you ever find this recording, remember, it didn't invade. We invited it. And it's still learning. It will always be learning.